Good morning, and welcome to You Be the Judge, and thanks for tuning in this morning. We thought we'd go back to a little bit of our roots and talk about a little medicine on the show this weekend, and we brought back an old guest and an old friend of mine, Dr. Tom Allardyce, who practices here in Wilkes-Barre. And Dr. Allardyce is an orthopedic surgeon here in Wilkes-Barre, taking care of a vast array of orthopedic problems. Tom, good morning.
Jerry, thanks for having me back again. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you back, and as I told our audience, you're not only a surgeon, you're a good friend, and so it's nice to have a friend on the set here and someone that we can talk to and maybe educate our audience a little bit. Tom, tell them first again, bring them up to speed about the nature of your practice and where you're at.
I'm a general orthopedic surgeon. I practice out of John Heinz, 150 Monday Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And like any orthopedic surgeon in the Valley, I treat all musculoskeletal conditions, whether it be traumatic, degenerative, metabolic. And our practice includes not only surgery. People think as orthopedic surgeons that's all we do. Actually, the vast majority of our practice is the medical management of all these problems.
Now, you do, as an orthopedic surgeon, do surgery. Where do you perform most of your surgeries at?
I perform surgery out of Wyoming Valley Healthcare and Geisinger System.
Okay. When you were here with us the last time, you and I spent an entire show talking about knees, and in particular about total knee replacements and the therapies and treatments and so forth, dealing with that particular condition. When I asked you to come on here today with us, you said, what's our topic? And you and I kind of agreed we'd talk about rotator cuff injuries. One of the things you did tell me, though, was we could spend about 5 of these shows talking about rotator cuff injuries. Is that right?
I think you can probably spend 5,000 of these shows, especially today, because with electronic communication, the internet, there's more and more periodicals and journals regarding not only orthopedic problems, but specifically shoulder and elbow problems. So there's a tremendous amount of information out there today. And the information is something that's continuously evolving. What we learned 10 years ago isn't what we know today. And I'm sure 10 years from now it's going to be different too. So you can probably take the video clip and look back and see that some of the stuff was not quite accurate, let's say. But when we talk about rotator cuff, I guess the first thing you need to do is explain to people what is this rotator cuff. It's actually a group of tendons, and we call these tendons the intrinsic muscles of the shoulder. And I think a simple explanation of these 4 tendons is sort of like my fist and my hand. The 4 tendons include the subscapularis, the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and teres minor. And these 4 tendons envelop the humeral head. The humeral head is the ball in this ball and socket joint of the shoulder.
And that's the top of your upper arm.
And that's the top of the arm, and that's what makes up the shoulder joint, the humeral head and this thing we call the glenoid. And it's not really a ball and socket joint like the hip joint. It's more like a golf ball and a golf tee. It's a very, very, very shallow socket. And what that allows, though, is with that very shallow socket and that very big ball is a phenomenal range of motion. If you just think about what your shoulder does, it moves in planes and in directions that no other joint in your body can.
It's kind of funny that you use a sports analogy of a golf ball and a golf tee to describe what the anatomical look of the shoulder is, when I probably, you would agree, most people equate rotator cuff knowledge with sports injuries, with injuries to baseball players or football players. Is that your experience?
Well, that's probably what, again, the lay public hears. They learn about rotator cuff injuries when a high-performance athlete gets injured, like Kurt Schilling, for example. We know that ended his career. But by and large, rotator cuff tears are seen in the general public, not in the overhead throwing athlete. And as a matter of fact, in terms of our discussion, it would probably be 1,000 times easier if we excluded the overhead athlete, because they have completely different diseases than the person working in a factory or at a desk job, or even just the person who develops an age-related degenerative rotator cuff tear.
We're going to come back to those because we have to take our first break right now, and that's a good spot to stop, because we are going to talk about how it affects us here and not the super athlete. So please, stay tuned after this commercial and come back to talk with Tom Allardyce about the rotator cuff tears and the treatment for that condition here on You Be the Judge.